I don't know how loud that is, but who cares, because it's great music. I don't know how the controls on this work still. Alright. Woohoo! There you go, rave. Talk us through, what are you doing?
Trying to look, well,
what are you doing?
Okay, that's interesting.
I'm gonna give a nighttime playtime. Okay. This is a catastrophe of a beginning. I've already got the sword. No one's gonna know how I got that. I've been messing around for a bit. I'm astonished at how easy emulators are.
Like, you've come a long way.
Like, for real. True. It was just, load up the file, and the game started.
To be fair, though,
figuring out how the controls worked was more of the difficulty.
But some people are kind of inept when, like, most of the forums I got on Reddit and things like that were like, how do I get this file to open? And it was like, well, you can't. It's either a zip file or it's like a.
Well, yeah, you can't probably load that.
And I'm like, okay, you just like a Z set.
If you don't know how,
are they called Z7s or?
Yeah, something like that.
And I'm like, you have to open the thing, so that there are definitely some.
Woo! Hey, I have never played this game. Whoa. Okay, we're getting a bit of weird glitchery. I mean, that is emulation. I don't know that we're going to get away from that. There's probably... There's also probably ways to... Ooh! Oh, boy! Oh, okay, so that gets multiple guys at once. I never actually played...
You have an affinity for this game more so than I do.
I don't. I've never played this. I just said that.
Yeah, but I mean, you...
Wait. Why is it beeping at me? I have an affinity for the show, if that's what you're talking about. Get back here. Oh.
I don't think that's in the game.
It's theoretically this... No, it's in the game.
Weird.
I don't know why it's doing that. There is a timer going down.
Your TV has almost like a surround sound thing going on right now.
Well, the speakers come out the back, which sort of throws it off. Is something going to happen when I hit 0 that I won't like?
Well, yes, death.
Why would death happen? Is this like a speedrunner's version of the game? Why does...
What does that mean? You're getting hit.
Is this... Well, okay, No, I haven't been getting hit. It was time-based. I mean, I'm getting hit, but my health was up. It was the timer that went down. I died when time hit 0.
Oh, yeah, you do have to, yeah.
So it's like Mario in that respect?
Yeah, you have to keep moving to a degree.
Okay, see, again, we had a nest, but we didn't have this. Well, I got holy water. That was some lame holy water. Ah! Boy, these controls are hard. I do wish... I should just get... I'm sure they're cheap on Amazon. USB NES controllers.
No. I just put in my first review. So
there you go. Have you not watched anything since you set that up then?
I have. It's not that I haven't watched anything.
I've
it's that I haven't
watched
specifically reviewed anything.
Well, a review and a rating aren't the same.
Well...
And you don't have to go as hard with a review as a rating.
Well, I'm using...
the other way around.
I'm using an Amazon version of a review where it's like, this happened.
Really?
Maybe not... Oh, those things are... Yeah.
Now, if I remember correctly, you go upstairs by
pushing up and down. Yeah.
See, I don't. Did we ever own this?
No, I remember.
Feel like I have. No, you showed it to me on the Pi.
Exactly.
That's why I am vaguely familiar with it.
So that is.
Speaking of which, that means you have a SNES controller. But
it's not a. It's a Bluetooth SNES controller.
It's not a wired.
Yeah.
Oh well. Okay, I don't need cash, I need hearts!
So, shout out to a company called 8-Bit Do, which sounds very odd. But,
it is a dumb name.
But
that did still hurt.
But they do like...
Can I not whip downwards? Is that later games that I can do that? The directional whipping? Oh, I can...
Yeah, that comes later, yeah.
I can holy water. I thought it was up attack.
But they...
Okay.
How
do I use my holy water? Because it's the only...
controllers that have Bluetooth and such like that, they've retrofitted on modern kind of technology, and so it works really well.
What was that?
They still have a very similar feel, but they obviously have the benefit of then you're not having to worry about the cord dangling about, especially for children. That's very helpful. So, and if you are looking to actually put emulators onto your TV directly. As much as I know you could just do it with a computer and emulation.
Well, why wouldn't you?
I think the Pi is a great option just for a dedicated system for it. That's the one thing I think is a benefit.
Was that a live system or was that the game cheating for me?
What?
Oh, I guess I do have hearts. Because I thought I died and I thought I was going to have to start over, but I started in the middle of the room. You're sneaky. But I see hearts. This is where it's weird, is that this game is not really older than my generation. I just have no clue how it's played. Because I never did play it. We had a SNES, or we had a NES, but we didn't have the classic NES games.
But this first came out on the NES, though, right?
Yes, this and actually quite a lot of the first Castlevanias happened on NES. And then it was SNES, and then actually PlayStation got most of them, which is odd.
What?
Yep.
I don't remember that.
The famous Castlevania games are actually like Symphony of the Night and the other ones. A lot of them were PlayStation 1, because I guess I never realized how old the PlayStation was. I never knew of the PlayStation until I had an Xbox, because that was when the big rivalry happened. But I didn't realize that PlayStation 2 was the Xbox rival. PlayStation 1 was the SNES rival. And I was like, I had no clue it was that old.
I do know, though,
we have never been a SNES or a PlayStation household ever.
I don't know that I ever...
never even... Okay.
See, so when I...
The stairs are tough
actually
because
owned
I
my
can't...
own consoles, I was Xbox because the fact that my wife was Xbox, but but growing up, I was actually very much PlayStation, which is why I was familiar with games like Kingdom Hearts, which used to be the exclusive
to be respectable.
No,
Kingdom Hearts, whatever the current one is a.
I haven't played
a mess.
it. So have you played it?
No, I've seen it though. How do I? Okay, am I in the wrong spot, or am I supposed to go over to these stairs? Boy, I suck.
I mean, it was always very.
Call in with your nicknames. Mine, Schmuck.
What's the word for it? Schmuck. No. It was always very kind of a cheesy franchise, I suppose.
And it only leaned in meat.
It just leaned more heavily into that in the later parts.
But like, why can I not? I can break these bricks, but not all of these bricks. Am I supposed to go down these stairs over here? Ah!
I believe so, yes.
Man. Okay, sneaky. What?
Fish people.
Fishmen. Black Lagoon. What? Okay, now get out of here. Get out of here. Is it obvious that I didn't play these games when I was a kid?
Well, hand it to somebody who did.
Well, that's actually a question. I was going to say we do death to death, but hearts are so easy to get that I probably won't ever die officially. We could just do knockout to knockout.
Or you could just die for me. That'd be great.
So that's an instant death. Okay, so water is instant death. So it's X and Z or A and B. I mean, that's the benefit of...
Okay, so X...
And then the arrows are obviously the arrows.
What's A and... What's
X and Z.
And then A and...
X and Z. No, R, A, and B. As in A and B were the buttons. Yeah, S, that did it too. The WASD also works. Don't know why. But... yeah, I'm quite happy that we have these set up now.
So what were your
were my what?
What were your plans for this? Did you have
for these and probably to play them on my own? I mean, I don't know
not
if we'll
just
make series
games,
of these. We might. Because
huzzah, man! How do I equip this?
Now see that you don't equip up and attack is how you use the item. And I'm well enough versed with Castlevania to know that the item crash is the special attack. And you can pick them up. I don't know how you swap them out. Now, someone who knows how NES stuff works, that weird sort of glitching effect that happens when we attack stuff specifically, not when we get hit, because I know the getting hit animation is different, but like you notice how his sprite kind of fizzles? Is that just an artifact of emulation, or is that what the NES did? Because again, I'm not old enough to know.
Generally with emulations, they're actually duplicating what was original to the game.
Even the glitches? Correct. I have heard that. I know so little about emulation, to be perfectly honest. All I know is that N64 emulation is some of the hardest there is, which is funny to me.
I do think that's funny because it is a console that I think was.
Well, because the funny thing is,
I wouldn't say it was underrated. It certainly got its.
No, it wasn't. It was. What was its competitors? It was competing against the Sega. Which one?
Genesis.
Was it Genesis or Master System?
No, it would have been the Dreamcast or if anything else.
No, Dreamcast was PlayStation 1, or was that the Genesis? I'll look it up. Sega, I say I don't know much about Sony, but actually Sega is the one brand that it was just like, I know nothing about it. What was...
Sega, I knew. I owned a Genesis when I was...
Third generation consoles. I think I'm right about that. This was third gen, wasn't it?
The SNES?
No, N64.
Yes,
third gen.
yes, N64.
The third generation of consoles was N64, Master System.
So what was?
No, this is the first. The best-selling consoles of this generation was the NES. They're saying NES is third generation. That was the first. Maybe
well,
not. They're probably gonna call it.
And...
They are, no doubt. But well, that's interesting then. So Master System was the NES contemporary. I think I knew that much because Master System's the first Sega system, is it not?
I didn't think so. I thought it was the Genesis, which would make sense.
No, Genesis was later. I thought Genesis was because Dreamcast I think was the latest. Dreamcast. And PlayStation I think were competitors, and I think N64 because N64 from what I recall was the last cartridge-based major console.
I had both the Genesis and the Dreamcast. I did not.
So you were actually mostly a Sega person. Then.
No,
So if this is third gen, that means fifth generation was the N64. We're learning gaming history. Fair enough, I suppose. Fifth generation. It's funny that there's Wikipedia articles for these, that these terms are so ubiquitous. Wait, did you kill that guy or did you just glitch out of existence?
No, I killed him. It just took a while.
There we go. The N64, the Sony PlayStation, and the Sega Saturn. That was the one no one remembers.
I did forget about that one. That one was...
Because that one was the first Sega to use CDs.
That was a console to forget.
Yeah, that was... Because I think that was the first Sega with CDs, and I think the last Sega, wasn't it? Wasn't that the last Sega console?
It probably was.
Sega stopped making consoles, I think,
they
after
basically
that
just resolved... okay, well...
Well, you're not dead, but I guess...
Oh, am I not?
Well, not... Well,
I thought I was.
You will be when you do that!
Oh, no!
Drop the mouse. I think the recording's still going.
I hope so.
Well, I do appreciate that when you click away from the window, I have no clue what that did to the recording. We'll find out in the edit. Well, hang on. Okay. No one saw that. The edit is still going. So yeah, Master System was the very first. The Mega Drive was the SNES competitor.
Mega Drive was...
Because Mega Drive was Sonic and a lot of the famous ones.
Yeah,
then Dreamcast was...
Genesis was Sonic too.
Was it?
Yeah, Sonic really was their main thing, which is why they ended up saying, well, we're just going to be a game maker rather than...
Well, some people say that's what Nintendo should do. I don't know that I agree, but... They seem to have recovered. The Wii U was a big flop, but the Switch seems to be doing pretty well.
I think the Switch is fantastic.
I haven't bought a in fact, have I ever bought a console? I've never bought a console unless it was a replacement for one that broke. Every console I have ever had has been one that was given to me. It's just occurred to me that that's the case. Except the N64, which I bought when our N64 died, but I mean, I consider that a replacement. I didn't buy it for myself when it was new. Because the funny thing about our family is we always bought a new console about like 2 years before the next generation came, like consistently. We bought a NES before the SNES came out. We bought an N64 before the GameCube came out. We bought a Wii before the Wii U came out. I got my first Xbox before the Xbox One came out. It was literally like we were always just far enough behind to be like, hey, you got a fun new thing. The new one's coming out, so none of the games will be playable. But whatever.
I personally think that that's the way to do it with a lot of technology, though, is to just be just enough behind the times that everybody else is getting rid of theirs.
Well, that's true in terms of being able to buy it. That's why we're actually passing that day, because it used to be about 5 or so years ago, maybe longer, about maybe 7 years ago, you could find an N64 in any thrift store anywhere.
Right.
And it was just like people were getting rid of them, and I was like, well, I bought mine for like $10. It's like, I have the cartridges still, because we still had the cartridges we had. I'm like, I'm not giving up on these.
I still, as far as being a dad, I still submit that 64 was a brilliant console for the sake of literally just being bomb-proof. They were just indestructible.
That's
like
the
you
one
could
thing
literally
about
throw
it.
the thing out a window and then be like, just blow in the little slot. You're good.
Now, the PlayStation 1 thing about this N64 is, was it not... I don't... This is where most of my gaming history knowledge comes from Zero Punctuation. But I do believe that despite being relatively underpowered, the N64 still was the dominant console of the generation. Because technically the PlayStation had, I think, better power.
What am I missing?
But
here?
you're going up the stairs. There's no door downstairs.
Yeah, but
You gotta go up the stairs, and these guys aren't gonna stop coming. But we started talking about this because the N64 YM64 emulation is still the hardest to do, which I think the reason that I think it's funny, and it makes sense when you think about it despite being counterintuitive, is that cartridges in general are hard to emulate because you're literally attempting to use software to... It's basically you're simulating what a circuit board would do.
Right.
Like you're literally having to... It's almost like the software that circuit board designers use. It's like, we've got our circuit board. What'll it do when we activate certain pins? You're literally doing that because the cartridges were just big circuit boards.
Have you seen the developer's model of because people do that with GameCube and things? Oh, I did the same exact freaking thing.
Well, thanks for that. You got me hit by the bat.
But
you didn't actually die fully though.
No, that's right.
Why did I die fully and you didn't?
Because I've been gathering hearts the entire time and you...
Well, you only have 10. I had 7. The whip is longer than I think. I need to use it at longer range.
But the GameCube had a lot of tidbits that a lot of people probably didn't know about because it also had its own built-in screen that a lot of people didn't know about.
Since when?
There was an attachment.
It was an attachment.
It was an attachment that
they
Nintendo
had lots of
released.
weird attachments. Though.
Exactly.
Because the N64 had a floppy disk attachment that no one bought ever.
Well, why?
That no one bought, or why
the
they
screen?
have it?
I'm saying the screen makes sense on a.
Not really, because it's
was
not
like
at all portable.
The Sense was like an early Switch.
Oh, now that
almost.
wasn't my...
But then you look at...
Because you're going to walk around with that while it's plugged into a wall?
I'm just saying...
See, now, why did I get the...
Go again.
Okay.
But the thing I think was interesting, though, is that there was an attachment that... And I don't know that you can readily get these, but it basically was for developers that allowed you to modify the games. So, you could actually get in
existing games?
Yeah,
or?
Correct. So you could actually modify parameters primarily, and you could overclock things.
Was it not actually just a developer's kit? Because they obviously...
It was, but... Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what it was, yeah. So... But I think that they did release, not a ton of them, but you were able to buy them if you wanted them.
When they were out, or, if after a while?
I think that was... Post them kind of falling out of...
Because I bet you could probably find them on eBay now that they're basically defunct.
Sure.
But I think the funny thing about the emulation of these things is that even though cartridges are hard to simulate, these NES and SNES cartridges were so simple that even though it's hard to simulate circuit boards, they could still do it. Whereas N64 cartridges are actually so complicated that it takes a good amount of processing power to emulate that kind of a circuit board, which is funny to me. It's easier to emulate. I could probably emulate I could probably find Switch emulators that are easier to run than N64 ones.
Well, the Dolphin actually does a really good job at running most games.
GameCube was a GameCube.
No, GameCube. Dolphin does GameCube, Wii.
GameCube and Wii were compatible, though.
Right.
That's the other thing not a lot of people know is that the Wii could play GameCube games. Mm-hmm. Was that not the last case of true console retroactive compatibility, or whatever that's called? Backwards compatibility? Because that was unabashed. Xbox 360 was you could play your Xbox games, and they have to be from this list of a handful of Xbox games. And I think... the stupidest thing is I tried it once, and literally the title cards would show up, like in the Xbox menu. It'll go, oh yeah, we know what this game is. Here's the little graphic that goes for it. You can't play it though. And I was just like, well, that's really stupid. You can clearly read the disc. You're telling me what the game is. You're just basically going, yeah, no, that's against our rules. That's really dumb.
Boo on you.
Okay. Ah! These old games are hard.
So you like the show. I am not.
You never gave the show much of a chance.
I didn't give much of a chance to the show.
Which is odd that you were like that adamant. Because I can understand being like, yeah, I've tried a couple episodes and I'm just not interested. But it was like 1 or 2. Maybe.
Was it?
It wasn't even the first season, and the first season is legendarily short.
Maybe I retry it.
I think you should. It definitely gets better. Oh, see, I can't even turn around fast enough.
I love how he just fetal positions it, just like, meh.
Get back here. The thing about this, I'm obviously having bits of memories of Slain that we played, despite the fact that was a...
Slain? I don't remember.
Yeah, of course you do. It was a great video, and we...
Which one? Refresh me of the actual
I will refresh you of nothing. It was like, we said it was like Castlevania met
Oh,
Doom.
Yes, okay, yeah, that's right. That's
and the thing about that
metal,
is that this,
in fact,
it had almost the same control system. It was literally just, there's an attack and a jump and the controls.
True, yeah.
But I think the main reason that was a little bit, I found it more, what's the word I'm looking for? It was a little bit easier. I don't think literally as in the game was easier, because it was actually pretty challenging. But the challenge came from the game, not from wrangling awkward controls.
Yeah.
And I feel like part of the awkwardness of this is wrangling awkward controls. Because, of course, I mean, maybe again, if we had a better remote for this, we might not have that issue.
I did find that to be the truth with...
wrong button that time.
With Luigi's Haunted Mansion, when I was emulating that one on Dolphin, is that there were certain controls that when I was trying to do them on the actual computer, I was like, this is impossible, versus when you're doing it on the controller, you actually have the ability to move camera and
Go away!
camera angle and your character at the same time, as far as your... Because then you can strafe and do bits like that.
Yeah, the other thing is... I don't know what that does. I've got a lot of hearts now, so hopefully I'll be okay. There's this fast-forwardy option, which is like so absurdly fast that I just got hit twice without knowing it. So demonstrating it was really stupid of me. But if there was like a 25%, no, if there was like a 25% faster rather than that like 200% faster. Okay, I seriously hate that they mapped that to the freaking. Space bar, because that's so
you're accidentally hitting.
Well, because it's so easy to accidentally hit the space bar, especially because I'm used to space bar being jump. That's such a modern convention that it's too easy to follow.
I don't know if it is. I think it's just
absolutely it is. Space bar is jump in literally everything. Literally everything.
But have you played on PC a lot?
I haven't. PC is where space bar is jump. Nothing else controls with the space bar.
Okay.
You are... Don't question me.
I don't know that I would say that by and large spacebar has always been jump.
If the spacebar is not jump in a game, then the game doesn't have a jump button.
No.
That is...
If the spacebar is a jump in the game, then chances are it's like a 2-button, 3-button tops game.
No. I don't know that you have a single leg to stand on here.
No, I absolutely do.
No, you
typically,
do not.
yes. Typically,
spacebar is jump in every game that has jump that's on PC.
Typically, PC games are played with either the actual.
They may not have jumps
keys with various letters.
No, they're going to be played
controls.
with WASD and
correct.
And
either
mouse.
That or that. I've never seen spacebar ever being used.
Then that means it doesn't have. That means it's a game that doesn't. A lot of games don't have jump buttons. That's actually more modern games have less jump buttons. That is true.
Sure.
Because modern games aren't usually platformers. A lot of times you don't.
Well, maybe that's just the inner platformers.
So that might just mean you have never played modern games that aren't platformers. Because that is
within the PC realm. That's probably true.
Exactly.
I mean, outside of
a lot of shooter games don't have jump buttons because you would never need a jump button in the shooter.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I still feel like
Wow.
there's a basic enough movement that I always want to jump, just simply because I don't know why.
Well, it's useful for freeing yourself from physics glitches. That's the most common reason people jump in anything nowadays. Okay, I am doing so poorly at this, but I'll admit my being a noob when it comes to these kinds of games. That's exactly why I have these, is I'm looking forward to rectifying the hole in my gaming history. But that was stupid. Stand 64 and all that stuff. We finished what we're talking about with that.
Mostly, I
Basically,
mean,
the point is we've got these set up now because now we'll have stuff to play. And I'm looking forward to that because I want to. There's history in these kinds of games that I would like to experience because that's what I do.
Sure.
Apparently.
But back in what does that mean?
Oh, is this not a door?
What you do.
This looks like a door. Well, I've been doing it with films. I've started doing it with books a long time ago. It seems I'm taking all of my hobbies more seriously these days. Aha! What's the
serious in that you're refining or
what?
Oh, it freezes time.
Oh, that's what it is. I thought it was like a mound of salt. I have no. Okay, I'll admit you having to press a different key to go upstairs is a little bit weird, but I mean
it's annoying only because.
Oh wait, this is the room I was
to...
just in. Okay, so going over that is a dumb thing to do. That takes me back. Well, that's old games for you. No, Mr. Fishman. Speaking of films, before we run out of time, woo. I was thinking you'd pick up on the segue there.
Well, I know what the segue was. I just thought you may have finished your sentence.
No, I tend to not do that.
Yeah, so we went to see
John
Wick 4 today, which is the opening. Opening here. Right?
Technically, there was an advanced release yesterday, but the official release date was today. I don't know why. When I looked for tickets, there were some yesterday. Like, the fact that you don't just go down the stairs naturally when you walk towards them is really weird to me, but again, I know that the games do that, I just have to get used to actually doing
Once
it.
you actually embrace that metric, though, sometimes it's helpful, because if you want to walk down them slowly to not get hurt, you can do that, and then...
I seem to recall these weird... Aha! Boss music. Whoa, he's faster than I thought.
Don't put him on the fast. Don't actually bump the space bar.
No, don't tell me about it.
He'll just rip you a new one.
Don't tell me not to, because now I will. Okay, so does he not stun when I hit him?
You have time.
He's gonna swoop!
Can you not jump when he does that?
Well, I tried to, but he's fast. I actually am gonna run out of time. I don't remember this game having timers. I thought it was just Mario that did that. Yeah, I know, pal. Okay, I'm stuck. Well, that was rude. Locked me in a corner. I have 27 hearts. See, I don't know what the distinguishing factor is. Because 27 hearts would seem like a plenty enough amount.
So anyway, we went to see that today.
Yes.
First of all, I'm curious about the overall.
It's enter. Remember. Don't press space.
The overall series or franchises.
Well, I'm gonna have to look up my rating because I may have to adjust my rating depending on how the other ones.
Because I like the overall franchise and the idea of it is clever to me, but I don't. The second one was a little weak, but I think everybody would agree with that.
The second one, it pulls a Ocean's arc, is what it does. Where they basically have one good film that's like, oh wow, that was really successful, like anomalously so. And then they're like, oh, let's make another one of these. And then the second one jumps the shark and is really weird and terrible. And then the third one, they're like, okay, we were a little bit too gung-ho, let's actually make it good. And then they did.
Yeah, I thought the third one was pretty good.
Yeah, third one manages to rise above the second, but not... I don't know if it quite gets as good as the first. The problem I have, and maybe this is why my rating is a little bit difficult this time, is that... hang on, I'm getting my list up so that I can hopefully actually do some comparison. The first one sets a very interesting question of, like, you know, what is the underbelly of like the hitman industry like? Because I mean, no one thinks about it, but that is a trade.
Yes, but I don't know
like that still exists. Oh, of course, it's not nearly what the film posits, but you don't know that it's not. So it's a fun like, oh, you never know. It could be, there could be hotels that are like, yeah, this is, if you know who to talk to and you know the right words, you could be like, get something arranged. But the problem I had is the second film is when they introduced the whole like global conspiracy thing.
The whole
where it's like,
thing.
it's an international body of assassins, and every third person in a city is an assassin. That was the issue. Is it's like
they pushed it a little too hard.
Yeah, admittedly they do the same thing in this film a little bit, where it's like, oh, we put out the hit on him, so like everyone in Paris is gonna kill him. It's like, I could understand if, again, there's enough uncertainty about this whole shadowy thing that I could absolutely believe it's like at any given time there's probably a handful of hitmen in a major international city. That's entirely possible. The idea that it's like all of them, it's like, yeah, that turns out like 10% of this city's population are hired killers. I find that a little bit hard to believe. Because it's like, yeah, they put out a hit on him, and then within 10 minutes, like, how many people would you say? It had to have been like over 100 guys attempted to kill him in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, that was...
Well, I guess over the course of the next like 4 hours. But it's like, that means they were all in Paris just waiting for the opportunity for that. Which implies that the world is made up of more hitmen than you'd think. Okay, let's see. What did I rate these?
Oh dear.
I rated... okay, so I may have been generous. My initial reaction...
To the first John Wick?
No, to this one is I was going to give it a 3.5 stars.
See, I gave it a 4.
I'm using the letterbox system. That is far too generous in my opinion.
What?
4 is too high. I'm just going to say that, but... When did the first one come out?
You're using it. What is the letterbox system? Is more what? That was the...
no, they use... It's the 5-star system with half stars.
Right.
When did the first John Wick come out? Did I not rate it?
So what did you not... I'm curious what... Not to say that your
I may not have rated the original John Wick.
The same as mine as far as its
impression,
but...
that... I'll have to review it because my trouble here... The first film... I don't know. It's tough. I'm attempting to formulate on the fly.
Disagreeing.
No, okay. So I gave the first film 3.5. I don't know why it wasn't showing up on my rating list. And 3.5 to me is like.
You gave the first film a 3.5?
Yes.
Okay, well that is your
that shows that will show my opinion of the whole series.
The whole franchise
it's a
for
fun,
you is not a big,
no. It's basically it's a fun like, oh, this is a fun kind of thought experiment. Maybe it is like this. Doubtfully, but it's an interesting idea. No one can disprove it. So I thought it was fun, and I thought it was toned enough. Obviously, we know that organized crime exists, and you could stretch that enough to suggest that there are hitmen who know each other, and it's like there's probably only a handful of guys that do it. I would wager.
Sure.
I can't imagine there's just loads. In this capacity, I mean, obviously there's local crime gangs, so it's like, okay, yeah, you can send someone out to kill someone, but I'm talking about international hitmen. I imagine there's not that many of them. So the first film felt very restrained in that regard.
I certainly wouldn't call the first film restrained.
In comparison.
Okay, yeah,
because,
sure.
The whole concept of the Continental, I'm like, this is a fun idea. I like this. This is and then, again, it's like, okay, for all we know, it's one hotel in New York that hitmen know about. It's like, this is where you go. I liked the idea of the no business conducted on hotel grounds. It's like, it creates a fun kind of world, mythos, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, mythos is...
The problem I had is the second film attempts to expand it, I think, beyond the original idea's capacity. Where it was like, no, you're still going. I'm looking at my thing. I felt like it stretched it beyond the limits that it could hold. So, and then the third film,
was it just primarily the scope?
Yeah, because then that's when they realized, like, okay, there's hotels all around the world, and then there's this whole council thing, and it started to get more convoluted, is what the word I would use. What are you attempting?
Trying to get that actually down to more of
It's
science.
it's up attack is what I believe it is.
But that's going to be more helpful than...
Well, yeah, one with this guy especially because that's got some decent range. Do it now. Oh well, okay, not quite. Well, not that much range. I think maybe the
don't
reason.
Go up the stairs, you ninny.
Well, you are.
Yeah,
don't blame him. It's you.
No, I'm trying to do the up attack, and he's not.
Well, don't do up attacks near stairs. I don't think that thing has as much range as I thought, so don't.
I'm trying to get.
I'm gonna inch closer until I find the right range that hits him.
Because the problem is. Okay.
The problem is you can't seem to do it.
It flies like a
bat out of hell, perhaps.
Hey, what is?
I'm pretty sure that's what he is.
Apparently, I've run out because the axes are no.
Well, you're
longer
about to
working.
run out and you're about to die. So let's see which happens first. There you
Apparently me. So, the bottom line is you don't like the franchise as much as...
No, because 3.5 is reasonable to me, because consider we're talking about out of 5.
3, sure, but 3 is an average rating.
No, 2.5 is an average rating. 2.5 is my I feel nothing about this movie.
Rating. That means that you literally don't
that's
like
average.
it at all.
No, screw the IMDb nothing is below a 7 rating.
No, that's not...
No, that's how
That's not what I'm suggesting.
But I'm
What
saying
do you
that's
take
how
me for?
IMDb is, where bad films are like, oh, it got rated 6. It's like, no, a
No,
bad film
that's-
should be a 1. So by that contrast, a mediocre film, like, I mean mediocre not in a harsh sense, but like just, it's okay. That's a 2.5 for me.
I think...
A 3 is a... 2.5 is literally like, I feel nothing about this movie. 3 is like, oh yeah, that was fun. 3.5 is like, oh, this is pretty good. 4 and up is, these are great films.
No, 4...
I think you should know that I'm stricter about my ratings
I
of
could give you
things.
4 being this is a good film. 5 to me is like, this is an amazing film, you have to see it.
Well, yeah, and I only have a handful of 5s.
Sure.
So can I freeze these guys? How do I attack? Okay, I can freeze even the bosses, except I froze him in midair. Okay, we might be a little bit hosed here because I'm starting this boss fight with like no time. Okay. I'm gonna die.
My thought on this one was, first of all, I was already excited going into the movie because I like Donnie Yen. I think he's great.
I didn't know that. I wasn't sure if you knew about that he was in it, so I wasn't
Yes.
gonna tell you.
I
figured you'd appreciate that. Why does he? Is it ever since Rogue One that he just has to play blind
I know
assassins?
that bothers me.
Because in
a little
Rogue
bit.
One it makes sense. In this, I'm like, he'd have been dead way too soon.
Well, that and I just go, why?
I mean, they did a good job.
He's
at,
gonna
like,
be blind. Oh,
Well, because it makes him even more cool, I guess.
Not
but
really though. It doesn't.
They did a reasonable enough job at making it as plausible as such a stretched concept could be, where it's like they do it the way he fights, you can tell that they're taking into consideration the fact that, like, okay, he would obviously have to fight differently. Like, even the little detail where at one point to check the ammo on his gun, he literally cocks it and sticks his finger in the port in the release. It's like, that makes sense. That's the kind of detail that you would have to do. Or like, I like the fight scene when he's literally putting motion activated sound thing so that whenever someone walks past it, he knows where they are. It's like, that's clever. But like the final showdown, it's like, okay, you're gonna have a blind man attempt to duel someone
30-yard pace.
Yeah, it's like literally classic duel where it's like, it's not speed based, it's literally just aim at blank nothing. It's like literally my thought was like, all John would have to do is like take slightly askew,
off to one side.
slightly askew steps, because he's gonna think that he's like, because they even did the thing was like, you can tell he's listening for the sound of the gravel to like gauge how far he is away. That's clever, but I'm like, literally, if he had just taken slightly off kilter steps, he would have just been firing right past him. So I think that was the thing. I think I'm giving it grace now that it's basically committed to being we're a cool action series rather than we're an interesting sort of crime drama. I think maybe my expectations are such that I like this one more. I still think it was better than 2.
It was certainly better than 2. I don't know that it was better than 3. I
technically rated it better than 3. I think I rated 3 a 3.
The only reason I think that it was slightly better than 3 is that I like the fact that... And how much spoiler are we doing here?
it did just come out. We might want to give some consideration.
I appreciated the way that it ended. That's all I'm going to say. Because I think that was the only way it could have ended sensibly. That's all I'm going to say.
Sure. There is a slight sense of like, well, then what was it all worth? The fact that they did it, they kind of cobbled together an ending where it's like, okay, everybody sort of wins. It isn't like...
I don't know that it was that trite.
No, I don't mean that as dismissive, but like, my thought was they're either going to have it be...
Dadgummit, Fish Mooney. You stupid.
My thoughts were it was either going to be a quintessential success or a quintessential subversion. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
It was either going to be, hooray, he wins, or, oh no, he loses. And
it wasn't.
It wasn't. They
cheated.
Well, I don't think it's cheating, but they did they were clever in the final twist to make it like, okay, all sides, except for, of course, the main villain, kind of get what they were going for. It's not, because of course, I mean, that's not much of a spoiler, is that the main villain is pitting former friends against each other. So your thoughts are, either, he's going to win and he's going to have to kill this person, or that person's going to win, they're going to have to kill him. And it doesn't do either because they manage a twist, but I won't say more. So, sure, the ending didn't bother me, but I don't think it was like, oh, I respect that.
Well, and to be fair, and my wife has said this before, I am particularly hung up on endings.
You've said this before, too, about, you and your weird happy ending craze.
It's not even happy endings. It's just like...
It should be either a tragedy or nothing.
Well, it's tragedy or it's just something that feels resolved. It's not even like happy, but for instance, in a revenge plot movie, I want the person... If there's any like level of, oh yeah, he kind of got away with it.
But is this a revenge plot? Because the villain in this was not the arch villain of the series.
That is true.
Do something. You froze him. You froze him. Get him.
I wasted all of that time.
You wasted. He was in perfect range too. Let him swoop and then freeze him while he's close to the ground, and you can whap his little furry. I don't think he has genitals. I was gonna say you could whap his little furry sack off, but I don't think he's got that. I think that's what he is.
He's just
in fact, it is a furry sack.
Dadgummit you.
In theory, a bat it's just a bat face with wings. There's no actual bat attached.
Oh, you said that so dismissively. Just I think with these kinds of movies, they're always to a degree gonna suffer from the quintessential just shoot 'em up, like everything is an action sequence. Well, which is a little
yes and no, because my thought was, as I was going through it, I started to think, this is, I think, the only way something like the Transformers series should have gone. Because people make excuses for Transformers like, it's just, it's meant to be a dumb action series, so you shouldn't bother with it. I'm like, this... I wouldn't be so dismissive as to call it a dumb action series, but it is explicitly like this. These are just spectacle films.
Yeah.
These are films about cool action, fun...
Which is really a credit to the...
And they do that incredibly well, and I actually remember thinking...
It's a credit to the choreographers and to Keanu Reeves
and to
for all of his own stunts. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and the cinematography,
there was a scene, that whole above scene,
the final fight in the church, I was like, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
And I'm not normally one... Like, to me, a film has to be a good story first and foremost.
Yeah.
So I am not going to be the person who's like, oh, that's a really clever shot composition. Like, maybe my dad would be like that. I am not like that.
But I certainly appreciate
But that sequence, I was like, this is really cool. Yeah, this is a really clever way to do that. So it's like, again... For people who make excuses for things that just, it's dumb action. This is smart action.
Well, and it made it interesting in that he's going through multiple buildings, and each building looks slightly different in how they film it. One is like far more up close. Another's more like, just kind of laid out, like almost like you're an observer of it. And then the third shot is like, okay, this is brilliant. Some sort of an aerial, like I'm in a drone.
Well, and that had to have been just one big, huge set with no roof. Like that was a really clever. I just thought that was great. But so basically, I've accepted fully that it is basically an action fun, but really well done. Like, I don't think this is the new standard for. Again, I feel like dumb action movie is too harsh a title, but it is. What would you call it charitably? Because it is not a character drama. The first one sort of attempted to be a slight character drama because it was.
Said the first one was. It
was trying with the questions of like he's trying to be. He was out of this life and then he gets dragged back into it and whatnot. That was a long run before we actually went back to start.
It is a.
I mean, action drama, I suppose, but
shooter has to be in there somewhere because there's a degree of
because that's.
I know that's a video game crossover, but I'm saying
action.
The idea that but
it's Jason Bourne-y. What would you call Jason Bourne? I'd call that an action movie.
Yeah,
I'd call that an action drama though because it has a story that's like attempting to be meaty. In fact, it's arguably much the same story, but the spectacle's dialed way up.
It is. I wouldn't say it's the same story because Jason Bourne comes from the other side of the aisle.
Not really. I was inside this and I want to get out of it. And
but it was,
I will fight you until I get out of it. That's what I think this is interesting, is that it makes it a private thing. And I was like, that, again, the thing that saves it is I just think the world is interesting. I think they jumped the shark a little bit in the second one. But I still think the idea of the, like, okay, there's an international, the whole series. If you took out the high table nonsense, which I think arguably is kind of nonsense, they never give it enough explanation.
The whole concept that's the one qualm that I've had with it because
they never
even on a mafia or like a mob level, that's not how that works. Like, multiple families do not work together just because
I don't think exactly
there's one...
they're families, though. That's the thing. The whole point is it's one big organization with different branches.
But that's not how that works. I mean...
arguably. But see, that's the thing, is they seem to be an exclusively hitman operation. They're not crime families who do drug smuggling or other illegal activities.
See, I didn't get that.
At least not that we see.
Especially from the first one.
You never see them do anything.
Sure, but I mean... Like, for instance, in the first one, you see a bit of, like, almost like the Russian, or like the Bratva kind of Russian mob, and...
But they're families, arguably, yes, but they're not...
But I'm saying, but they clearly had, like chop shops and stuff like that
Maybe.
They were...
It's been a while. The first one I saw a long time ago now, but... That's the part, I think, that just never get enough explanation, except in 2, which they gave it too much, like... Because isn't the guy, the main villain of 2, was actually a member of the... table or whatever, something like that. The dude
having John kill his sister to be
to take her seat or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, and I just feel like the idea of the concept of the Continental as like the international hotel chain where hitmen go for their safe houses, essentially. It's like, that's a fun concept. I like that it's a sort of private organization. I think the kinds of weird rules they have. And like the rituals and things, like, that's a fun... I think it's a fun idea, mostly, is what I would say about it. It's a clever idea for a world, as stretched as the logic of it is. And so this one, I think, fits into that reasonably well. The third one, I think, did too. The first one, obviously, sort of only hints at most of it. And I think the second one was the one that kind of was like, they tried to do too much all at once.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I guess I wouldn't call it dismissive, because on average, my rating for all three of them would have to be 3, because I gave the second one, I think, a 2, this one, and the first one I gave 3.5, and the third one I think I gave 3. So that would average out at, I think, whatever. I'm calling it 3-ish, which is, this is a fun series, and I would watch them again. Not for a gripping story, but for like, yeah, it's a fun action movie. If I'm in the mood for a fun action movie, this would be one to go for. I would probably rank them close to the Bournes in terms of... But see, Bourne's a little more
Bourne's would be higher to me because of the story.
I might rate Bourne... I don't know what my ratings are for Bourne. I think probably Bourne's a little higher. This is why I love things like Letterboxd. Because I don't have to keep this knowledge in my head. I can actually look at it objectively. And say, what do I think? Except when my tablet takes too long to load. So yeah, I think the fact that Bourne is a little more serious and it's a little more drama than action. But then again, I think this one compensates by... It's less drama, more action, but the action is like a lot better. Like I think they committed to that and were not content to have it be dumb Transformers level. Just watch a bunch of stuff blow up. It's like, no, this is actually quite. We're going to be serious about our cinematography, about our choreography, about everything that goes into this, but we're just going to commit to the kind of zaniness because it is a zany concept. You kind of have to admit that, but.
Well, yeah.
The problem I don't know is how.
I will submit this, and this is why I'm going to loan you this movie. There is as far as because Jason Bourne. Hey, I actually did.
Oh, and you got a glowing pustule. Hey, restores health. Oh, so this was just like a mini boss. Oh, so those go. That's what those do when you get to the end.
So the
Bourne's 4s across the board for Bourne. So Bourne rates slightly higher.
Bourne to me, because it has the element that he's on a governmental level rather than like organized crime, I don't know that I would relate John Wick directly to it, only in that it feels similar but not quite.
It feels slightly more plausible.
Yeah, but
because the action is toned down to a more sensible level, and the idea that the government would have these people, it's like, well, if anyone does,
right, exactly,
it would be the government.
But it is true that so here's I guess what I would say.
Through that pillar,
you had mentioned the idea that it's a playful idea that
I think playful is a good word for it.
Like, okay, what if this actually existed or whatever? I would say that the movie that I'm going to recommend that you watch that I'm going to loan you, which is Road to Perdition, is a more accurate representation of how enforcers actually look in the mob.
Because arguably he's not an enforcer. But this is my point: is enforcers are not the same as hitmen.
True.
Arguably. Like this kind of hitman where it's like, okay, I will fly from international to the spot, do the hit, and then leave. Hitmen or like enforcers are, I work for the family and I won't just kill people, I also do enforcing, literally. Yeah. I'm just muscle, essentially.
But the reason that I liked the Road to Perdition is because it has an element of, especially again having that be a family history thing and hearing stories about various. There's a crown down there for some odd reason that I would definitely get. Okay.
I was too focused on why the wall.
But anyway, the stories that I have been told of actual real life situations are very much similar to Road to Perdition.
Well, yeah, this is of course, as we said, dialed up way a lot, which is interesting. I mean, that's not a. Well, I mean, you could call it a criticism. I think it depends on what you're aiming for.
I think
get me out of here.
Anytime you suggest that a man or any one person is
he would be dead 8 times over.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
That is a little bit of the
rub for you.
No, it's not exactly a rub. It's a little bit of like the film is essentially acknowledging, like, yes, of course, this is not. I feel like the film knows that it's asking you to stretch your faith. It's asking quite a lot of your suspension of disbelief, but
sure,
I think it commits enough to the action and the spectacle of it that I think I'm willing to give that.
Right, and I think that's largely to Keanu's credit. I do think. Okay. I was surprised at how much they actually had like kind of tropey elements in it too. Like I think it's the third one that they like straight up quote. Because obviously the irony of them having
these things suck,
having Morpheus and Neo in the same movie again.
Well, of course. Did they ever quote the Matrix?
They did. It was.
I didn't remember it.
Well, you haven't seen.
I have now seen Matrix 2, so
okay. Well,
that might be another hot take, but that might need an unpacking video.
Well, because
it's a hot take.
Yeah. Well, I didn't. Arguably, Matrix 2 is not. It just gets worse.
I will save my opinions for my hot take.
Well, that may have to be a different video.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saving my opinions.
Because I like the first one. I
don't
like
keep
the second
tempting
one,
me with my hot take.
And the third one is not good. If you haven't seen the third one yet,
I have not seen the third one yet. I've just watched the second one this past week. Come on, but I don't remember them quoting The Matrix. Then again, I'm not sure I would have recognized it. So, get The weird blueberries are awful. They're impossible to get.
Anyway, so there you go. That's
So
John Wick as an
But now, where
overarching-
do you rate Bourne then? Because if I rate Bourne 4 and you think 3 is low for this, then you must think Bourne deserves way higher than that.
No,
too.
I probably would have only given Bourne maybe another half.
So this would I gave this one a 3.5 and the first one a 3.5. But the average of the whole series has to come down because of 2.
That I agree with you. So that I would probably
Stop
give more
that!
like a
Get out of
3.5.
here! No.
Whereas yours are a 3.
There you go. That's why I admit I used to like the simplicity of the. Well, we'll probably wrap up.
Yeah.
I liked the simplicity of the Goodreads simple 5 stars, and once I saw the half-star system on Letterboxd, I was like, oh, I know this is too complicated. Now it's hard to pick.
See, I kind of like the half stars because there are times
I've
it's like
gotten
a
used
4
to it
certainly
where-
isn't too generous.
Well, I've run into
and a
that
3
issue
is
with
like,
Goodreads where I'm like, I'm having to think in my mind. I'm like, okay, let's say if I could give it 3.5, I would, but now I have to guess: is it above 3.5 slightly or below 3.5 slightly? And I'll just have to round down. Whereas I like that I can be specific with this, and it's a little bit more useful. But
yeah.
so I would say, and for being a 3-hour film,
That is true. It didn't feel long for
No.
being a 3-hour
I
film.
caught myself thinking about, okay, when is it actually going to end? But that was not that long before it did, and that's a good sign. If you're thinking that too early, then that's a problem. But
I do think that the plot wasn't stretched too thin. That's what I was concerned about with this one, was that it was just going to be a, because obviously
I thought they were going to have it be like he's going to wipe out the whole table and he's going to
exactly.
travel all over the world, and that would have been much.
Right. And
it would
so
have been number 2 again.
Well, that's why I'm kind of like, you can't go there. So I did think it was a clever idea to bring Winston kind of back in to some degree, but not fully. This again comes back to my sense of justice, though, where I just go, I half expected in the end scene there to be a little bit more carnage, in that it was like...
Well, they're in the end scene or in the end sequence? Because there's quite a lot of
in the end sequence, meaning like...
Well, there were only a handful of people in the end.
I
In
agree.
sequence,
And
no. The end
Winston,
sequence, he
to
easily
me-
kills like 300
Winston,
people.
to me, should have not been
Nothing happens
left to be
him.
crossed. Well, I think that he
He deserved something?
He was the one that just randomly capped him for no reason. So I'm
See,
like,
that's the thing. In the third film, I knew they weren't going to go with that because I was like, the way he does it comes across very much like he's going to survive this. I think Winston knew absolutely. I think he knew is like, I'm going to do this because it'll get them off my back, and I know he's going to survive this because nothing will kill this man. I don't think that was a genuine portrayal. That was very much because he then literally.
That's fair.
At the first moment that he has the opportunity, he helps him again.
Yeah.
So it was not a true betrayal. It was like, okay, I'm going to do this because you'll get to go underground and I'll get them off my back, and I know it's not going to kill you. So I don't think he deserved any real punishment for it.
Maybe. That's fair.
Technically, he loses the guy.
Right.
That might be punishment.
It certainly
enough.
didn't bother me so viscerally that I didn't like the ending of the fourth. I did enjoy the whole ending sequence. I think that again, I say, if John Wick was to end anyway, it was done very tastefully. It was like, okay, that's a good way, because again, crime syndicate is able to spin on, and it's like, well,
the idea that he would have annihilated the whole thing, if that would have just been way too much,
right?
And it would have been 2 again, and that was the problem with it.
But
they tried to do too much.
But they still highlighted his importance still with one of the guy from the table or whatever, the high table, going, if you...
Well, he wasn't front, he was their lackey, in a way.
Well, whatever, but he was the proxy.
The inquisitor, as it were.
But as he was talking about it with the main villain in this one, or the main, I suppose, antagonist in this one, he was like, if you don't kill John Wick, he's going to go on and be like more than legendary kind of thing. So they still bring credit to his significance without making it like he could single-handedly take this whole thing apart.
Well, and I think the most important thing is it's grounded for the series. It's obviously not a grounded series at all, but The problem, I mean, we're going to keep harping on it, because how many... Not only, I'm not just talking about, like, individual people, like henchmen, but, like, how many people does he have to kill in 2? It's literally like, okay, you gotta kill this guy. Oh, now this guy's mad, you gotta kill him. Then you gotta kill him. And we're flying over the entire Earth to kill random people.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, how many people are in this organization that he's gotta kill?
It's annoying. Whereas
in this one, it was, okay, we've embodied the whole organization in this one guy. He's the villain, and we're gonna focus on this rather than trying to hop around... Say, okay, now it's this guy's the villain, and now this guy's the villain. It's like, no, this is the main thing.
Yeah.
And he is emblematic of the broader picture. So it's a sort of microcosm thing where you boil the grander narrative into one easily digestible.
I was about to say, anytime you can say something more succinct, that's going to be better for you and the success of the movie. So there you go.
I'd recommend it while it's in theaters. I mean, to those...
Who still go to theaters?
Well, to that and to those who are okay with such films.
Sure.
Don't break the law is what I'm saying.
The one challenge that I'm going to end with is that the tropey kind of...
I don't remember. See, what do you...
So, like, for instance, the dog doing the peeing thing, I was just like, why is
that
that's not necessary.
But it was at the end during, like, arguably what is the climax. So it's I think they were doing that as a way of, like, where this is our insert levity moment. I think the better insert levity moment was Donnie Yen being fed up with the villain at the end. That literally was the funniest part of the whole movie.
I think his whole character in this one, because it's not as...
He's essentially a shadow John Wick. He's got the same motivation in a way.
I think the thing... I'm gonna dance very delicately on this. I think sometimes, like in the Star Wars film, for instance, he's cast as the
Donnie Yen. I thought you were talking about...
He's cast as the kind of token martial arts character, and
but this is a film full of martial arts characters, so he doesn't stand out as like there's the martial arts guy.
But then they didn't make him stand out other than the weird
he's blind, which I guess maybe that was their way of attempting it.
But I thought it was he just seemed like a very normal character in this one, which I was like, okay, cool. They're not like making him just like Royd McGee, okay. Right? Like, because sometimes they bring somebody like of Donnie Yen's caliber in, and they're like, no one, like, John Wick was here, but now there's this guy, and it's like, okay, no, that's... And they do that well enough to go, see, both of them are very seasoned professionals and know what they're doing, but they're not, like, he's got nothing specifically unique about him that...
Well, other than the fact that he's blind.
Stretching the...
that was the only part of the film I was like, okay, this is a
It's
stretch.
Not necessary.
It's definitely... And I don't know that the film would have been any different without it.
Right.
Which does... I mean, other than the fact that they do work it well enough into the action so that the action scenes would have been different. Like, I think some of the creativity of how he does things is clever. But those... I don't think the film would have been worse without those elements. He could have been just as capable and been clever in different ways.
Right, exactly. Anyway,
well, prove your brevity point by giving us a succinct closing.
Go see the film. There you go.
Well, I suppose I got what I asked for.